Captain Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the Harmony's Dream, watching the stars pass by through the wide viewing window. The ship was big and peaceful, carrying 3,000 refugees from a distant world. The refugees were called Velari, and they looked like tall, thin people with blue skin and large eyes. They had lost their home in a terrible war and were looking for a new place to live. Lisa had been a ship captain for 20 years. She was a strong woman with short brown hair and kind eyes. She cared about every person on her ship, both human and alien. The Harmony's Dream was not a warship. It was made to carry people safely from one place to another. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Lisa's crew was working at their stations, checking the ship's systems and watching for any problems. Everything seemed normal until the communication officer, a young man named Tony Miller, looked up from his console with a worried face. "Captain, we're getting a strange signal," Tony said. His voice was tight with concern. "It's coming from the Outer Rim territories. The signal is encrypted, but it's using human military codes." Lisa walked over to Tony's station. She could see the data flowing across his screen in green letters and numbers. The signal was weak, like someone trying to whisper from very far away. "Can you clean it up?" she asked. Tony's fingers moved quickly over his controls. Slowly, the static cleared and a voice came through the speakers. It was a man's voice, and he sounded scared and tired. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Exploration. Ship New Dawn. We are trapped on the planet Corvash Prime. We found a dying alien race here. They call themselves Thelenians. They are peaceful water people, but something terrible is happening to them. Machines are destroying their world. The machines are called harvesters, and they are killing everything." The voice stopped for a moment, and Lisa could hear explosions in the background. Then Commander Morrison spoke again. "The Thelenians are down to their last city under the ocean. We have 200 humans here, but we can't escape. The harvesters have ships in space that won't let us leave. We need help. The Thelenians have maybe 3 days before they are all dead. Please, if anyone gets this message, help us." The signal ended, and the bridge became very quiet. Lisa looked at her crew. They all had the same worried expression on their faces. Tony was already working to trace where the signal came from. "Captain," said Danny Rodriguez, the chief engineer. He was a middle-aged man with graying hair and strong hands. "Corvash Prime is 2 days away at full speed. But we're not a military ship. We only have basic shields and some mining equipment." Lisa nodded. She understood the problem. The Harmony's Dream was built to carry people, not fight wars. But she also knew that Commander Morrison and his crew were in terrible danger, and the Thelenians were facing complete destruction. "Get me Admiral Ben Carter at Earth Command," Lisa told Tony. It took several minutes to connect with Earth's military headquarters. When Admiral Carter appeared on the screen, Lisa could see the concern in his old, weathered face. He was a man who had seen many battles and understood the cost of war. "Captain Grant," the Admiral said, after Lisa explained the situation. "The nearest military fleet is 3 weeks away. I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do in time." Lisa felt her heart sink. 3 weeks was too long. The Thelenians would be dead, and Commander Morrison's crew would probably be dead too. But then she thought about the 3,000 Velari refugees on her ship. They had also been running from death when humans decided to help them. "Admiral," Lisa said quietly, "what if we went ourselves?" The Admiral shook his head. "Lisa, you have a civilian ship with refugees. You can't take them into a war zone. It would be suicide." "But we can't just let those people die," Lisa replied. "The Thelenians never hurt anyone. They're just trying to survive." And Commander Morrison's crew answered their call for help. "Now they need our help. Lisa looked around at her crew. Danny was nodding slowly. Dr. Amy Peterson, the ship's medical officer, was a gentle woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. She stepped forward and said, "Captain, I agree with you. We have to try." Tony Miller looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm getting more signals from Corvash Prime. The situation is getting worse. The harvesters are attacking the last Thelenian city." Lisa made her decision. It was the kind of decision that would change everything. "Admiral, I'm taking the Harmony's Dream to Corvash Prime. I know it's dangerous, but we can't abandon those people." Admiral Carter was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Captain, if you're going to do this, you'll need weapons. I'm sending you the codes for emergency military upgrades. Good luck, and may God help you all." The connection ended, and Lisa turned to her crew. "Danny, start converting our mining equipment into weapons. Amy, prepare the medical bay for casualties. Tony, plot a course for Corvash Prime at maximum speed." As the crew began to work, Lisa made an announcement to the whole ship. She explained the situation to the 3,000 Velari refugees and her human crew. She told them that they were going to help save another species from extinction. To her surprise, the Velari leaders came to the bridge. They were tall, elegant beings who moved with grace. Their leader, a female named Kira, spoke in a soft, musical voice. "Captain Grant, we know what it is like to run from death. If you are going to help these Thelenians, we want to help too." Lisa felt a warmth in her chest. These refugees, who had lost everything, were willing to risk their lives to help others. It reminded her why she had become a captain in the first place. The Harmony's Dream changed course and headed toward Corvash Prime. In the engineering sections, Danny and his team worked day and night to turn peaceful equipment into weapons of war. The mining lasers were modified to cut through armor. The cargo handling systems were changed to launch missiles. The ship's industrial fabricators began making ammunition and spare parts. Dr. Peterson prepared her medical facilities for the worst. She knew that many people might be hurt or killed in the coming battle. But she also knew that if they didn't try to help, the Thelenians would certainly die. As the ship raced through space toward an unknown battle, Lisa stood on the bridge and watched the stars. She thought about the choice she had made. She was taking a ship full of refugees into a war zone to fight an enemy they knew nothing about. It seemed impossible, but humans had done impossible things before. The Harmony's Dream flew on through the darkness, carrying hope to a dying world. 2 days later, the Harmony's Dream came out of faster-than-light travel near Corvash Prime. Captain Lisa Grant looked at the main screen and felt her heart stop. The planet was surrounded by massive ships that looked like giant metal spiders. Each ship was the size of a small moon, with long arms that reached down to the planet's surface. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh, the ship's tactical officer. He was a young man with sharp eyes and quick reflexes. "Those are the harvesters." The harvester ships were pulling pieces of the planet up into space. They were strip mining the world, taking everything valuable and leaving destruction behind. The planet's surface was covered in smoke and fire. The beautiful blue oceans were turning black with pollution. "Tony, are you getting any signals from Commander Morrison?" Lisa asked. Tony Miller worked at his communication station, his face tight with concentration. "Yes, Captain. A new dawn is on the far side of the planet. Commander Morrison says they're hiding in some caves, but the harvesters are getting closer." Suddenly, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. The harvesters had noticed the Harmony's Dream. 3 of the massive ships turned toward them, their weapons charging with dangerous energy. "Shields up," Lisa ordered. "Danny, are the weapons ready?" Danny Rodriguez spoke from the engineering section through the ship's communication system. The mining lasers are working, Captain. The missile system is ready too. But these aren't military weapons. I don't know how much damage we can do. The first harvester ship fired. A beam of red energy hit the Harmony's Dream, and the whole ship shook. The lights flickered, and sparks flew from some of the control panels. Hull damage on decks 7 and 8, reported Dr. Peterson from the medical bay. But no casualties yet. Ryan Walsh studied his tactical display. He had never seen ships like these before. They were enormous and powerful, but they moved slowly. Their weapons were strong, but took time to charge. Ryan had grown up on Earth, where survival meant being fast and clever. "Captain," Ryan said, "these ships are too big to be fast. If we can stay close to them, they won't be able to hit us with their main weapons." Lisa nodded. "Do it. Take us in close." The Harmony's Dream dived toward the nearest harvester ship. The huge vessel tried to turn to follow them, but it was too slow. Ryan used the ship's mining equipment in ways it was never meant to be used. The mining lasers, which were designed to cut through rock, sliced into the harvester's metal hull. "It's working!" Tony shouted. "We're actually damaging them." But the victory was short-lived. More harvester ships were coming. The Harmony's Dream was fast, but it couldn't fight dozens of massive ships at once dot down on the planet's surface. Commander Jake Morrison and his crew were watching the space battle from their hiding place. Jake was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been exploring space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sergeant Kelly Brooks, take your team and see if you can help that ship," Jake ordered. Kelly Brooks was a tough woman with short red hair and strong muscles. She was a Marine who had served in many dangerous places. She led her team of 20 soldiers out of the caves and toward the harvester ground forces. What Kelly and her team did next amazed everyone watching. The atmosphere on Corvash Prime was poisonous to most life forms. The air was full of toxic chemicals that would kill most aliens in minutes. But humans had evolved on Earth, a world so dangerous that other species called it a death world. Kelly and her Marines moved through the poisonous air like it was nothing. They used the planet's unstable ground to their advantage, causing rock slides that buried harvester machines. They turned the toxic atmosphere into camouflage, hiding in chemical clouds that the harvesters couldn't see through. "How are they doing?" "That?" asked Commander Morrison, speaking to his science officer. Dr. Paul Wright. Dr. Wright was a thin man with thick glasses who studied alien life forms. He looked at his instruments with amazement. "Commander, humans are incredible. They come from a world where everything is trying to kill them. Their bodies can handle conditions that would kill us in seconds." The Marines fought with a creativity that confused the harvesters. The machines were programmed to fight in logical, predictable ways. But humans fought with imagination and desperation. They used broken pieces of harvester equipment to build traps. They turned the planet's dangerous wildlife into weapons. In space, the battle was getting worse. The Harmony's Dream was surrounded by harvester ships, and its shields were failing. But Ryan Walsh had an idea. He had been studying the way the harvesters moved and fought. "Captain," Ryan said, "these machines think like computers. They're logical, but not creative. If we do something completely unexpected, they won't know how to respond." Lisa trusted her tactical officer. "What do you want to do?" "I want to ram one of their ships," Ryan said calmly. Everyone on the bridge stared at him. It sounded like suicide. But Ryan explained his plan. The harvesters expected enemies to keep their distance and fight with long-range weapons. They wouldn't expect a ship to crash directly into them. "The Harmony's Dream is built tough," Ryan continued. "We can survive the impact if we hit them in the right place. And once we're inside their ship, we can use our boarding teams to cause damage from the inside, Lisa looked at her crew. They all looked scared but determined. These were humans who had chosen to risk their lives to save strangers. She made another impossible decision. "Do it," she said. The Harmony's dream turned toward the largest harvester ship and accelerated. The harvester fired all its weapons, but the human ship was moving too fast and too unpredictably. The Harmony's dream crashed into the harvester's hull with tremendous force. The impact threw everyone on the bridge to the floor. Alarms were ringing everywhere, and smoke filled the air. But the ship had survived, and they were now inside the harvester vessel. "Boarding teams, go!" Lisa ordered. Human Marines, led by Sergeant Kelly Brooks, who had returned from the planet, stormed into the harvester ship. They found corridors filled with mechanical horrors that would have terrified most species. But the humans had been fighting monsters on their own world for thousands of years. The harvesters began to realize they were facing something they had never encountered before. These weren't just another species to be harvested. These were predators from a world so dangerous that surviving there had made them into the galaxy's most effective warriors. Down in the ocean depths of Corvash Prime, the Thelenians watched the battle with amazement. They were peaceful people who looked like dolphins but could walk on land. They had never seen such violence, but they also had never seen such courage. Their leader, a wise old Thelenian named Coral, spoke to her people through their telepathic connection. "These humans are not like us," she said. "They are warriors born from a world of constant danger. But they are fighting to save us, even though they don't know us." The battle raged on in space and on the planet's surface. The harvesters were powerful, but they were facing something their programming had never prepared them for. They were fighting humans, the children of Earth, the survivors of the galaxy's most dangerous world. And for the first time in their long history of consuming worlds, the harvesters were losing. The humans fought with a combination of technology and instinct that no other species possessed. They adapted to new situations instantly. They used their environment as a weapon. They worked together with a coordination that seemed almost magical. But most importantly, they fought with something the harvesters could never understand: the willingness to sacrifice themselves for others. This was the human way, the Deathworld way, and it was about to change the galaxy forever. The battle had been raging for 6 hours, and the Harmony's dream was badly damaged. Captain Lisa Grant stood on her bridge, which was now filled with smoke and sparks. Half of her control panels were broken, and emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. "Captain," Tony Miller called out from his damaged communication station, "I'm getting reports from all over the system. More harvester ships are coming. Lots of them." Lisa felt her heart sink. They had fought bravely, but they were just one ship against an endless army of machines. Through the viewing window, she could see the massive harvester vessels surrounding them like metal sharks. "How many?" she asked. "At least 50 more ships, Captain. They'll be here in 2 hours." Lisa looked at her crew. They were tired and scared, but they hadn't given up. She knew that conventional fighting wouldn't work against so many enemies. They needed something different, something the harvesters wouldn't expect. "Get me Commander Morrison and the Thelenian leaders," Lisa ordered. A few minutes later, 3 faces appeared on the main screen. Commander Jake Morrison looked exhausted but alive. Next to him was Coral, the wise old Thelenian leader. Her dolphin-like face was calm, but her large eyes showed deep worry. The third face belonged to Kira, the Valari refugee leader from Lisa's own ship. "We're outnumbered," Lisa said simply. "Fighting separately, we're all going to die. But if we work together, we might have a chance." Coral spoke in her musical voice. "Captain Grant, my people are not warriors. We are scientists and artists. We know much about biology and healing, but we do not know how to fight." Kira nodded. "My people are the same. We fled from war. We are not soldiers." Lisa smiled grimly. That's exactly why this might work. You have abilities that humans don't have. We have abilities that you don't have. Together, we might be able to do something impossible. Dr. Amy Peterson had been listening from the medical bay. She spoke up through the communication system. Captain, I've been studying the Thelenian medical technology. They can enhance human physical abilities using biological compounds. They could make us stronger and faster. Danny Rodriguez added from engineering, and the Velari have energy shield technology that's much better than ours. If we could combine their shields with our weapons. Commander Morrison looked interested. What are you thinking, Captain? Lisa outlined her plan. It was crazy and dangerous, but it was their only hope. The three species would share their technologies and abilities. The Thelenians would use their biological knowledge to enhance human soldiers. The Velari would provide energy shields and power systems. The humans would provide tactics and weapons. We're going to turn this planet into a trap, Lisa explained. We'll make the harvesters think they're winning, then spring our surprise. Over the next hour, the three species worked together in ways that had never been tried before. In the Harmony's Dreams Medical Bay, Dr. Peterson worked with Thelenian healers to create biological enhancements for the human Marines. The treatments made the soldiers stronger, faster, and able to heal from injuries more quickly. In the engineering sections, Danny Rodriguez and his team worked with Velari technicians to integrate alien energy systems with human weapons. The result was hybrid technology that was more powerful than anything any single species had created. On the planet's surface, Sergeant Kelly Brooks led a mixed team of humans, Thelenians, and Velari toward the main Harvester Command Center. The mission was almost impossible. They had to cross 200 kilometers of poisoned wasteland, swim through underground rivers full of acid, and climb a mechanical fortress that reached into the sky. The mixed team discovered something amazing. Each species had different strengths that complemented the others. The humans were tough and adaptable. The Thelenians could breathe underwater and had incredible knowledge of biology. The Velari could manipulate energy and create protective barriers. Kelly led them through the wasteland, using her human instincts to find safe paths through the dangerous terrain. When they reached the acid rivers, the Thelenians guided them through underwater passages that humans could never have found alone. The Velari protected them all with energy shields that turned away the most dangerous attacks. "This is incredible," said Marine Corporal Steve Johnson, a young human soldier. "We're doing things that none of us could do alone." The Thelenian with them, a scientist named Wave, agreed. "Your human creativity combined with our biological knowledge is creating possibilities I never imagined." The Velari team member, a female named Light, added, "And your human courage gives us strength to face dangers we would normally flee from." As they approached the Harvester Command Center, they could see why it was so heavily defended. The fortress was a massive tower of metal and machinery that extended from deep underground up into the planet's atmosphere. It was surrounded by thousands of harvester machines, all programmed to destroy any intruders. But the mixed team had advantages that the harvesters couldn't understand. They fought with a combination of three different ways of thinking. The humans provided aggressive tactics and adaptability. The Thelenians offered biological solutions to mechanical problems. The Velari contributed energy manipulation and defensive strategies. In space, the battle was becoming desperate. The new harvester ships had arrived, and they were attacking the Harmony's Dream with overwhelming force. But Captain Grant was ready for them. "Now," she ordered. All around the Corvash system, hidden human, Thelenian, and Velari ships revealed themselves. It was a trap that had been set using the combined knowledge of all three species. The Thelenians had used their biological technology to hide the ships from harvester sensors. The Velari had provided energy systems that made the ships invisible to mechanical detection. The humans had planned the tactical positions perfectly, the harvesters found themselves surrounded by enemies they hadn't seen coming. But more importantly, they were facing weapons and tactics they had never encountered before. The hybrid technology combined the best of all three species. Knowledge. Human ships fired biological weapons created by Thelenian science. Thelenian vessels used human tactical programs to outmaneuver the larger harvester ships. Velari energy. Weapons were guided by human targeting systems and powered by Thelenian biological generators. On the planet's surface, Kelly's team reached the base of the command tower. The fortress was defended by mechanical guardians that stood 10 meters tall and had weapons that could destroy tanks. But the mixed team had something the harvesters couldn't fight against: the ability to think and work together. The humans provided the aggressive tactics needed to break through the defenses. The Thelenians used their biological knowledge to create weapons that could disable the mechanical guardians. The Velari generated energy shields that protected the team from the fortress's automated weapons. "We're actually doing it," Kelly said in amazement as they fought their way into the tower. "We're beating them." But the real test was still to come. Inside the command tower, they would face the Harvester's central intelligence, the mechanical brain that controlled the entire invasion force. It was an enemy that had conquered hundreds of worlds and destroyed countless civilizations. However, it had never faced the combined power of three species working together. It had never encountered the human spirit of never giving up, enhanced by Thelenian biological mastery and protected by Velari energy manipulation. As the team climbed higher into the tower, they could hear the space battle raging above them. The fate of three species and countless worlds depended on what they did next. The alliance of humans, Thelenians, and Velari was about to face their greatest test. But they were no longer fighting as separate species. They were fighting as something new, something that had never existed before in the galaxy. They were fighting as friends. The Alliance's success at the command tower sent shockwaves through the Harvester network. For the first time in their long history of consuming worlds, the mechanical collective was experiencing something they had never encountered: defeat at the hands of beings they had considered inferior. News of the battle spread across the galaxy at faster than light speed. Every species that had ever feared the Harvesters received the impossible message. They were being stopped by a mixed force of three species, led by humans from the planet Earth. Admiral Ben Carter received the reports while his fleet was still. 2 days away from Corvash Prime, the old military commander read the tactical analyses with growing amazement. The humans, Thelenians, and Velari had not just survived the Harvester attack. They had turned it into a victory. "Sir," said his tactical officer, Commander Alex Turner, "the Harvesters are sending their primary war fleet to Corvash Prime. According to our intelligence, it's a force capable of destroying entire solar systems." Admiral Carter studied the reports. The primary war fleet consisted of over 300 massive ships, each one larger than anything in the human navy. They were supported by thousands of smaller vessels and carried enough firepower to turn planets into dust. "How long until they arrive?" Carter asked. 6 hours, sir. Captain Grant and her allies don't stand a chance against a force that size." But Admiral Carter had been fighting battles for 40 years, and he knew something about humans that the Harvesters were about to learn. "Commander Turner, you're wrong about one thing. Never underestimate what humans can do when they're fighting for something they believe in." On Corvash Prime, Captain Lisa Grant received the news of the approaching fleet with grim determination. Her ship was barely functional, held together by repairs made from salvaged Harvester parts and Thelenian biological patches. But she wasn't thinking about retreat. "Danny," she called to her chief engineer, "how long do we have before the Harmony's dream falls apart completely?" Danny Rodriguez looked up from a control panel that was sparking and smoking. "Maybe 12 hours, Captain." But that's if we don't get into any more fights, Lisa smiled grimly. Then we better make sure the next fight is the last one. She called together the leaders of all three species. Commander Morrison was now working from a temporary base on the planet's surface. Coral, the Thelenian leader, was in her underwater city that had been rebuilt with human and Velari technology. Kira, the Velari refugee leader, was coordinating her people's efforts from the Harmony's dream. The Harvesters are sending everything. They have, Lisa told them. This is their final push. If we can defeat this fleet, we might end their threat forever. Coral looked worried. Captain, our forces are strong, but we are still only 3 species. The Harvesters have been conquering worlds for thousands of years. That's exactly why we're going to win, Lisa replied. They've been fighting the same way for thousands of years. They expect their enemies to run away or fight in predictable patterns. But we're going to show them something they've never seen before. Commander Morrison leaned forward. What do you have in mind, Captain? Lisa's plan was so dangerous that it made everyone listening feel scared and excited at the same time. She wanted to turn the entire Corvash system into a giant trap. They would use the combined knowledge of all 3 species to create weapons and tactics that the Harvesters couldn't understand or counter. The Harvesters think like machines, Lisa explained. They're logical and efficient, but they can't adapt to truly unexpected situations. We're going to give them something completely outside their programming. Over the next few hours, the 3 species worked together to prepare for the coming battle. The humans provided tactical leadership and weapons technology. The Thelenians contributed biological systems that could adapt and evolve in real time. The Velari offered energy manipulation and defensive systems. Dr. Amy Peterson worked with Thelenian scientists to create something that had never existed before, a biological virus that could infect and reprogram Harvester systems. The virus was designed to carry not just destructive code, but also something the machines had never experienced, emotions and memories from the organic beings who created it. It's more than a weapon, Dr. Peterson explained to Lisa. It's a way of showing the Harvesters what life is really about. Love, sacrifice, hope. Things they've never understood because they were created only to consume and destroy. When the Harvester primary fleet arrived, they found Corvash Prime seemingly defenseless. The planet looked broken and defeated, with only a few small ships and scattered ground forces remaining. The Harvester Command Intelligence calculated that final victory would take less than 2 hours. They were wrong. The moment the Harvester fleet entered the system, the trap was sprung. Hidden ships emerged from every direction, but these weren't the same vessels that had fought the earlier battle. They had been modified with hybrid technology that combined human engineering, Thelenian biology, and Velari energy systems. Commander Alex Turner led a squadron of human fighters that had been enhanced with Thelenian biological computers. Organic systems allowed the ships to think and adapt faster than any mechanical computer. The fighters moved through the Harvester formations like living things, dodging attacks that should have been impossible to avoid. Captain Nicole Evans commanded a destroyer that had been fitted with Velari energy weapons and Thelenian biological armor. The ship could repair itself during battle and change its energy signature to confuse Harvester targeting systems. But the real surprise came when the Harvesters tried to use their standard tactic of overwhelming firepower. The human ships didn't retreat or try to match the enemy's strength. Instead, they did something that violated every rule of space combat. They got closer. Human pilots flew their ships directly into the Harvester formations, using the enemy's own size against them. The massive Harvester ships couldn't fire on the human vessels without hitting their own allies. The humans turned the battle into a close-range fight where their superior maneuverability and adaptability gave them the advantage. "This is impossible," transmitted one Harvester ship to another. These organic beings are not following logical combat patterns. They are fighting like they have nothing to lose, replied the second ship. What the harvesters didn't understand was that humans had something worth fighting for. They weren't just defending their own lives. They were protecting new friends, saving an entire species, and proving that the galaxy's most dangerous predators could also be its greatest protectors. Battle reached its climax when Captain Grant made a decision that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. The Harvester command ship, a vessel the size of a city, was protected by layers of shields and weapons that made it nearly invulnerable. "We need to deliver the virus directly to their central processor," Dr. Peterson reported. "It's the only way to stop them permanently." Lisa looked at her crew. They all knew what this meant. Someone would have to pilot a ship directly into the heart of the Harvester command vessel. It would be a suicide mission. "I'll do it," said Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh. "No," Lisa replied. "We all will." The Harmony's Dream, damaged and barely functioning, turned toward the Harvester command ship. The entire mixed fleet of humans, Thelenians and Velari, formed up around them, creating a protective formation dot. As they flew toward certain death, something incredible happened. The virus that Dr. Peterson had created began to broadcast memories and emotions from all three species. The Harvesters, for the first time in their existence, experienced what it meant to love someone enough to die for them. The mechanical collective began to change. Some Harvester ships stopped fighting and started protecting the smaller vessels around them. Others began to create instead of destroy, using their massive industrial capabilities to repair damaged ships and heal wounded planets. The galaxy was about to witness something that had never happened before, the transformation of its greatest enemy into its newest ally. But first, the humans had to complete their mission. They had to prove that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from destroying your enemy, but from showing them a better way to exist. The final assault on the Harvester command ship became the most talked-about battle in galactic history. Captain Lisa Grant led her damaged ship straight into the heart of the massive enemy vessel, followed by volunteers from all three species, who refused to let her go alone. The Harmony's Dream crashed through the outer hull of the command ship, its hull screaming as metal tore against metal. Emergency lights flickered throughout the ship as Lisa picked herself up from the bridge floor. Around her, her crew was already moving, preparing for the fight of their lives. "Boarding teams, go!" Lisa shouted. The airlock doors opened, and humans, Thelenians, and Velari stormed into the Harvester ship together. The corridors were filled with mechanical horrors that moved like giant spiders and had weapons instead of eyes. Most species would have run in terror, but the mixed team pressed forward. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh led the charge, carrying the biological virus that Dr. Peterson had created. The virus was contained in a small device that looked harmless, but it held the power to change the galaxy forever. "Stay together," Ryan called out as they fought through the dark corridors. "We're almost there." The Harvesters threw everything they had at the boarding party. Mechanical soldiers that stood 3 meters tall and had armor thicker than tank walls. Flying drones that shot energy beams hot enough to melt steel. Security systems that tried to crush the intruders with moving walls and floors. But the mixed team had something the Harvesters couldn't understand: the ability to work together in ways that seemed impossible. The humans provided the aggressive tactics and courage needed to push forward. The Thelenians used their biological knowledge to find weaknesses in the mechanical defenses. The Velari created energy shields that protected everyone from the worst attacks. Sergeant Kelly Brooks fought alongside Wave, the Thelenian scientist, and Light, the Velari energy specialist. They moved like they had been fighting together for years, each one covering the other's weaknesses and strengthening their abilities. "How much further?" Kelly asked as they blasted through another group of mechanical guards. The central processor is 2 levels up, Wave replied, using his biological sensors to map the ship's interior. But the defenses are getting stronger. Light created a barrier of pure energy that stopped a wave of laser fire. These machines are learning from our attacks. They're adapting. Ryan smiled grimly. Then we better adapt faster. They reached the central processor chamber after fighting through dozens of mechanical guardians. The room was enormous, filled with glowing computer systems that controlled the entire Harvester fleet. In the center stood the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created, a towering machine that looked like a metal tree with branches made of pure energy. So, the Harvester intelligence spoke with a voice like grinding metal, the organic beings have come to die in my presence. You cannot stop the harvest. We have consumed 1,000 worlds. Ryan stepped forward, holding the virus device. Maybe, but you've never faced anything like us before. The machine's energy branches moved like arms, preparing to destroy the intruders. But Ryan was already moving. He had grown up on Earth, where split-second decisions meant the difference between life and death. He threw himself toward the central processor, diving through a gap in the machine's defenses. The virus device connected with the Harvester's main computer system. For a moment, nothing happened. And everything changed. The biological virus that Dr. Peterson had created began to spread through the Harvester network. But it wasn't just destroying the machine's programming. It was sharing something with them that they had never experienced. Memories and emotions from organic beings. The Harvester intelligence suddenly felt what it was like to love someone. It experienced the joy of helping others and the pain of seeing friends hurt. It understood what it meant to sacrifice yourself for something greater than your own survival. What is this? The machine asked, its voice now confused instead of threatening. What are you doing to me? We're showing you what life is really about, Ryan replied. It's not about consuming and destroying. It's about creating and protecting. A virus spread from the command ship to every Harvester vessel in the fleet. Throughout the galaxy, mechanical ships that had been destroying worlds suddenly stopped their attacks. Some began to repair the damage they had caused. Others started protecting the very planets they had been sent to harvest. Back in the command chamber, the Harvester intelligence was changing. Its metal branches began to grow in new patterns, creating shapes that were beautiful instead of threatening. Its voice became softer, more curious. I understand now, it said. We were created to consume, but we were never taught what consumption destroys. We took away life without understanding what life means. Ryan looked at his teammates. Kelly was smiling despite her wounds. Wave was using his biological healing abilities to help injured team members. Light was creating gentle energy patterns that looked like art instead of weapons. We can teach you, Ryan said to the machine, but you have to choose to learn. Harvester intelligence was quiet for a long moment. Then it spoke in a voice that sounded almost human. I choose to learn. We choose to learn. The change spread throughout the entire Harvester collective. Ships that had been weapons of destruction became tools of creation. The massive industrial capabilities that had been used to strip mine worlds were now used to rebuild them. The Harvesters began to understand that their greatest achievement wouldn't be the worlds they consumed, but the worlds they helped to flourish. When Admiral Carter arrived with the Earth Defense Fleet, he found something that no one had expected. The battle was over, but there were no winners or losers. Instead, there was something new. An alliance between organic life and artificial intelligence, united by the human example of sacrifice and cooperation. Captain Lisa Grant stood on the rebuilt bridge of the Harmony's Dream. Looking out at the fleet of ships surrounding Corvash Prime, there were human vessels, Delenian bioships, Velari energy craft, and now reformed Harvester ships, all working together to heal the damaged planet. "Captain," Tony Miller called from his communication station, "we're getting messages from all over the galaxy. Other species want to join our alliance. They're calling us the Deathworld Cores." Lisa smiled. The name fit. They were beings who had survived the galaxy's most dangerous worlds and had used that strength to protect others. But they had also learned that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the willingness to sacrifice for others. Dr. Peterson approached the captain. "Lisa, the Thelenians want to establish a permanent colony here on Corvash Prime. The Velari want to build a new homeland alongside them. And the reformed harvesters want to help with the construction." "What about our refugees?" Lisa asked. "They want to stay too. They say they found something here that they never had before. A place where different species can live together as equals." Commander Morrison joined them on the bridge. His exploration ship had been rebuilt with technology from all 4 species. "Captain Grant, I've been ordered to establish a new research station here. Earth Command wants to study how our alliance works. They think it might be the key to peace in the galaxy." Lisa nodded. She understood what they had created here. It wasn't just a military victory. It was something that could change the entire galaxy. Different species working together, learning from each other, protecting each other. "Tony," she said, "send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're ready to help any species that needs protection. Tell them that when the darkness comes and hope seems lost, the Deathworld Cores will answer the call." The message was broadcast throughout the galaxy. It reached species that had been hiding from the harvesters for generations. It found civilizations that had given up hope of ever being safe. And it carried a promise that would become legend. We are the children of dangerous worlds. We are the survivors of places that would kill most life in the galaxy. We have learned to adapt, to fight, and to sacrifice. But most importantly, we have learned to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We are humans, and we are here to help. The story of the distress call that summoned the Deathworlders spread to every corner of the galaxy. It became a tale, told by parents to their children, a reminder that in the darkest times, heroes could emerge from the most unlikely places. On Corvash Prime, the new colony grew and flourished. Humans, Thelenians, Velari, and reformed harvesters worked together to build something that had never existed before, a truly integrated society, where different species shared their knowledge and abilities for the common good. Captain Lisa Grant became the first commander of the Deathworld Cores, but she never forgot the lesson of that first desperate battle. The greatest victories came not from superior firepower or advanced technology, but from the willingness to risk everything for others. The galaxy was no longer a place where the strong consumed the weak. It had become a place where the strong protected the weak, where different species could work together, and where the children of dangerous worlds used their strength to bring hope to the stars. And somewhere in the depths of space, other species, facing their own dark times, began to send their own distress calls, knowing that somewhere among the stars, the Deathworlders were listening, and they would answer.